Drip too hard, don't stand too close.
Hello and welcome back to TNN's coverage of the world's 9 best fantasy football players league. I'm Danny Football, filling in for your host whose suit is at the cleaners. And this is what we have for you this week. Week 1 wrapped up, we had some shocking results, and some teams are already looking to shake things up. We send it out now to a special press conference with Curse of the Black Pearl.
Hello, fans of the world's 9 best fantasy football players league. I'm Tom Walsh, the owner, GM, and coach of Curse of the Black Pearl, formerly known as Blinded by the Tight End. And I'm here with a special announcement that I'm happy to bring to all of you. After a rigorous search process and great deliberations amongst the members of our ownership team, as well as discussions and a bit of a back and forth with our commissioner of this league, the team has determined that it would be in the best interests of both our team and this league to bring in an additional assistant GM and coach, as well as partial owner in the excellent, well-versed, knowledgeable Kevin Moss. And so we look forward to bringing Kevin in as a part of our team and welcoming him into this league. And with that, we'll kind of pass it on to Kevin.
Thanks, Tom. Really excited to be here. If you look at the great, player, coach, owners in professional sports, obviously Jackie Moon, I'm sure some people, back in the 1920s did on the random ass baseball teams. It's not something that's really, proliferated into the modern era. I'm really looking forward to kind of being kind of hands-on in whatever respect makes sense for Tom, and hands-off when he needs me most. I'm here purely for a recreational basis, and I hope that's all he expects from me, and nothing more. So really looking forward to this. Tom, thank you for having me.
Yeah, Kevin. We're just excited to have somebody else just as emotionally invested in this team as we are. It's always great to have fans, and when those fans are on the ship with you, it just makes the ride a whole lot more fun. And so we're in this ride together, and we're excited about where we're going. And so with that, I think we'll open it up to the media for any questions they may have.
Hi there, guys. Danny Football here from TNN, world's 9 best fantasy football players expert, Danny Football. I'm just really trying to get the inside scoop here and really trying to see how this is going to affect Curse of the Black Pearl in the future. So, question for Kev, what role will you be playing for this team, and what assets do you think you bring to the table?
It's a great question. Great question. I'm glad we've got journalism, in and around this league that just has such hard hitting, really getting to the cut and gristle of what's going on here. So thank you for just such a great question.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Really, what it comes down to is how much money I'm going to make. God damn it. I'm sorry. How much money I'm going to make. I mean, really, we're looking here at an opportunity to be completely hands-off in a fantasy football setting. I haven't played fantasy football in several years. I'm mostly disinvested from the NFL, not really seeing anything here besides, purely like a recreational thing. Hoping to help Tom in some capacities. Really just player names that, are exciting, or guys that I liked in college that, that might not translate to the pros, but looking to see, how we can add that extra kind of grit and grizzle to this team in that respect.
Follow-up question for you here. I've heard some rumors from anonymous sources that you were willing to take a 20% stake in every team in the league save for Team M. Vanek. Can you confirm or deny the truth of these rumors?
I can't confirm. One of the other owners actually reached out to me in the beginning moments of this year's fiscal league year. talking about, the potential that in fact buying any share of any team, as long as it's in equal amounts, would net me a net, neutral gain on the year, which, just moments ago was informed that that's just how math works. This is absolutely an ownership option that I am pursuing. I understand the league, may not be in a position to honor such a request, but if the powers that be, do wish that it is possible and it's the sort of thing that can further all of our causes, I am all for owning an equal share of every team in this league.
All right, Kev, one final question for you. As you know, something that's really important to me as the expert is, getting engagement with the fans of the show. So I just have one question for you. What team am I high on?
This is, again, just great journalism here. This is one of those, softballs intended to just endear yourself to a fan base, strike a chord in the hearts of all the fans out there. What team are you high on? I mean, I've got to go with the New York Mets. I mean, there's only one answer here, folks, and I got to be a company man. I'm going with the New York Mets.
That's a good answer. To be fair, it was a pretty difficult question. This is one that only like true fans of the show are gonna know. It's like very subtle, kind of mixed in with my commentary throughout the years. So that's fine for now. We'll work on that a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to work on that.
All right, guys. That's all the questions I have.
Thank
you. Thank you, Danny Football, as well as the rest of the media. I think that'll wrap up our questions for today. But Kevin and I are looking forward to a great season, and we're excited to get started. We're working on something great, so we'll see you guys out there.
And thank you to Curse of the Black Pearl and TNN special reporter on the scene, Danny Football. And now, here is Danny Football with his picks for Week 2. Hey, what's up, guys? The world's 9 best fantasy football expert, Danny Football here, back with more expert predictions. Last week, not off to the best start for me. I went 2-4, but as all good teams know, it's not about how you start, but about how you finish. My guest, Commissioner Tooch, also went 2-4 last week, not being able to beat the expert. But now, it's a new week. There's a new guest and a new chance to beat the expert. So, guest, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Tom, you know me as the owner of Team Curse of the Black Pearl. I'm happy to be back. Happy to be hanging out with my good friend Danny Football again. I'm not doing so great against the expert, and I haven't done so great in the past, but, I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be on the show.
And we're happy to have you back. Always good to, pad the stats, keep the winning streak going.
Of course.
All right, first up, we have the Mental Brick Walls taking on the Texarkana Bandits. Bandits favored in this one at 53%. This is one that could actually end up getting really interesting in the Turtle Squad division, as both of these teams put up over 200 points in Week 1, both picked up wins. People are going to know that I was not very high on either of these teams coming into this year. I just didn't really think they had the pieces to really compete. So, this is a matchup that really could make a difference down the road with, if not playoff seeding, then for sure draft seeding with that in-division matchup. For the Brick Walls, they got carried to a win by a massive 37-point performance from Khalil Mack. There are rumors swirling that some are calling for sacks to be nerfed in response to this, great defensive showing from the Mental Brick Walls. For the Bandits, they got started off on the right foot behind a huge monster performance from none other than Trayvon Walker, who scored 22 times more than both Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau combined in Week 1. Clearly the correct draft pick there for the Bandits. Fans of the show, Tom, I know you're a fan. Fans of the show are going to know that I'm high on the Bandits. And this steal of a draft pick is only solidifying that for me. I'm going with the Bandits this week.
Yeah, Tooch, that's a great recap of kind
Tooch isn't
of where
here.
these teams are at. Commissioner Danny Football.
Yes, thank you.
Danny Football, I think you've made a great recap of kind of where these teams are at. Both in a kind of surprising position moving into week 2, but I'm excited. I like both of these teams, and I want to see them succeed. And I know you're high on the Bandits, and I think this week I will be giving them the edge as well. I just see a lot of players I like on the Bandits, if we're being honest. I think it's hard not to feel confident when you're putting out Justin Jefferson every week. That guy is just a points machine.
True.
And fun to watch. And so I'm really excited to watch him play for the Bandits again this week. But overall, I think their skill players are just a little bit stronger. I think they've got a bit more of a solid set of skill players, as well as a more well-rounded defense. I think both teams have a real boom chance, but if you're looking for who's going to put out a stronger points base, I think it's going to be the Texarkana Bandits this week.
Next up, we have Blood, Sweat, and Beers versus Team M Vanek. Blood, Sweat, and Beers favored at 58% in this one. Big favorites. Tom, who do you like in this matchup?
Blood, Sweat, and Beers is favored here. They've historically been a very strong team, often making pretty deep runs into the playoffs, and I think that's for good reason. They've got just a really good base of players here, and even returning guys, who have been a bit iffy in the past, and someone you see like Alvin Kamara. But overall, I think Blood, Sweat, and Beers kind of keeps chugging along, doing what they're doing, and relying on just a great overall roster. And so I'm going to give this one pretty easily to Blood, Sweat, and Beers. I think they've got a great team, and they're just going to be too much for Team M Vanek to handle this week.
Yeah, I really like that pick. Team M Vanek is, frankly, just atrocious. They're very lucky that the league decided to delay the start of the survivor pool, but expect them to still be penalized for their measly 119-point showing in week 1. As a fun fact, we had our stats guys from TNN go and look this up. Only 4 teams all of last year scored fewer points than Team M Vanek did in week 1. And you guessed it, Team M Vanek was one of those teams last year. But more importantly, Ham Throw scored fewer than 119 twice last year. So as bad as Team M Vanek is, there is teams that are worse.
We should point out that Ham Throw was just unlucky those weeks.
That's true. Actually, no, I can't even say that that's true. Team M Vanek, they got Dak out for a while, and they're gonna have to turn to Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz. Is Aiden Hutchinson a bust? Will Team M Vanek ever drop Will Fuller? A lot of questions and not a lot of faith in this team right now. Not a lot of answers there. Blood, Sweat, and Beers, they also had a pretty rough week 1. I really don't know what their running back situation is going to be looking like beyond this week. Cam Akers, trash. Elijah Mitchell is going to be out for a while. Glass bones, paper skin there. Kamara, I saw something about a potential rib injury there. He might be playing hurt. This team went from being very good on paper to potentially trying to, fight for their season very quickly here. With that being said, though, there's no better team to face in that situation than Team M Vanek, and I'm picking Blood, Sweat, and Beers this week.
Sometimes the scheduling works out for you, Danny, and I think this week it's working out for Blood, Sweat, and Beers.
Next up, we have Then He Waddled Away versus Team Big Chungus 22. Waddle favored here at 56%. Waddle had a very solid week 1. Their team absolutely went off, even with J.K. Dobbins in their starting lineup, who didn't even play last week. If they filled out their lineup, they would have been in the top 10 highest scoring weeks in league history. and secured whatever advantage going to come to them in the survivor pool as the highest scoring team last week. But the question is bad management gonna keep this team back? Having J.K. Dobbins in the starting lineup, it's a pretty big oversight. Really makes you question the coaching of this Waddle team. Chungus is not much to say here. Yeah, I actually have a working theory that Mr. Big Chungus himself is not a fan of the show, so we're going to start a new running recurring bit here to see how long it takes Will to watch. Will, if you text me, Danny Football, and tell me you want me to say more about your team, I will do it next week. Real fans of the show will not let Will know and let the experiment run. And real fans know that I have to go with Waddle in this one.
Yeah, Danny, I think that's some great analysis there once again. I will, as somebody who is not directly involved with this show, speak a little bit about Team Big Chungus and the coaching by one William DeTremp. And I will say, unlike some other teams in this league that are kind of off to a rough start, I do think there are some positives for Team Big Chungus. I do think there are some guys that can develop to be some pretty solid players for the next few years for them. Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Swift. But I think overall, the talent level just isn't really there for them. And it's going to be hard to keep up with a Then He Waddled Away team that has also just come up with a really fun team theme this year. And it's hard to beat that. You just want to see that duck get that lemonade from the lemonade stand. And so I think this week it'll be Big Chungus 22 waddling away with a loss. And Then He Waddled Away taking that big old dub.
Doesn't the duck want grapes from the lemonade stand, though? Isn't that
I think so.
So wouldn't it be bad if he got lemonade from the stand?
Maybe Big Chungus 22 is the duck getting the lemonade that he didn't want.
All right, next up we have Undefeated Never Lost versus Curse of the Black Pearl. Curse favorite at 61%. What are your thoughts in this matchup?
As the owner, GM, and coach of Curse of the Black Pearl, it can be easy to be biased, but, I want to recognize, that we did underperform in week one, and that, this can be a team that people are a bit iffy on this season. But like I've said before in previous matchup discussions today, sometimes you just get a lucky matchup. You get a good matchup that week, and I think Undefeated Never Lost just doesn't really have a favorable matchup for themselves this week. I think their players aren't really set to have a big game, and so I think internally the team at Curse of the Black Pearl has been kind of having some discussions about what we need to do as a coaching staff to not have some gross oversights in who we're starting and who we're sitting, but I also think that the coaching staff are big believers that, week one's kind of a throwaway game in fantasy anyway. Find out who your players are, who the dogs are. If that dog's in you, you're in the starting lineup. And so we're going to be starting our dogs this week. They're going to be barking up the right trees, and we're going to get this win. I went really far with that metaphor, but I think we're going to pull out a pretty solid win. Curse of the Black Pearl is going to take this one home this week.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good pick there. Curse, really rough week one for them. You really hate to lose to Ham and Throw, but luckily for them, they were not the worst team out on the field last week. That honor goes to Team M. Vanek, who just looked god-awful out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you salvage that season. That's just, wow.
Danny Football, a loss to Ham and Throw is a loss for the league.
It's true. The league really does hate to see anytime Ham and Throw wins, especially
Amen.
as a bottom three scorer in the league last week. Let me repeat that. A bottom three scorer in the league last week. Going back to this matchup, though, Curse, Damian Pierce, he looks like he's in a committee with Texarkana Bandits legend Rexanelli Berganucci. Team ownership, they don't know the difference between Quincy and Quinnen Williams. And the team knows that the situation is so desperate that they're bringing in an outside consultant for the team. Not a lot of positive signs there for Curse of the Black Pearl. Undefeated Never Lost, on the other hand, this team confuses me week after week. They have Godwin getting hurt. Najee potentially has a foot injury. ETN didn't get nearly as many touches as they'd like to see. They're starting Sammy Watkins. Not even Minka's 32-point performance could carry them to a victory last week. I still don't know if this team is trying to win, if they're trying to tank. I don't think ownership knows what they're trying to do. There's not a lot to like with this undefeated Never Lost team right now. That being said, I'm picking them to win this week.
Interesting choice.
Moving on, we have the Pumper McNichols versus Ham and Throw. Pumper McNichols favored in this one at 55%. Ham and Throw has really been on one lately, flexing their muscle with a whopping 165-point win last week, picking up the first lucky win of the season, which is going to be defined as a win, a bottom four scorer in the league that week, which TNN will be tracking this year and providing to all of our loyal fans out there. Ham and Throw has had 4 lucky wins in league history, while many others in this league have had none. However, the worst offender here is actually Tom Walsh himself with 5 lucky wins, including 4 just last year. Luckily for Ham and Throw, Michael Thomas put up 20 points, which is about 25% of all the points he's scored since they drafted him number 4 overall in the startup draft over 2 years ago. So congratulations to Ham and Throw. Looking at the Pumper McNichols, they put up the highest score last week with a really dominating win over the defending champs. Everything seemed to be working for them on the defensive end as they racked up 7 sacks, leading to the pot calling the kettle black. I think the Pumper McNichols are clearly the better team, and I'm taking them this week.
Yeah, Danny, I think this week it's a pretty easy choice. Some in the league may know I'm very high on Christian McCaffrey, and I think if he's on the field, you want him on your team. And so I think we're getting a long overdue big storm coming from the Pumper McNichols. They've been kind of an easy team to pick on the past couple seasons without Christian out there on the field. But now I think as you look over their roster, it's just hard to poke holes in it. I think they've got a great set of really intimidating players from top to bottom that are going to put up a lot of points this year. And I think Christian McCaffrey is going to continue to put out some stellar performances. Whereas Ham and Throw, I just don't see much to write home about them. They have beat my team this year already, but what is that to write home about? I think they've got some good skill players, but they're just running into quite the immovable object with the Pumper McNichols this week, and I don't think they'll be able to rise above that, unfortunately for Ham and Throw. But fortunately for the league, and the Pumper McNichols will take this home.
Finally, in our marquee matchup of the week, we have the SWAT team taking on Bart Harley Jarvis Landry. I think I got that right. Coin toss in this one, 50-50. Tom, who do you like here?
I think a lot of us in the league have shown concern, disappointment, upsetness, whatever the word is for that, about the performances that TJ Watt has been able to put up based on the scoring. But this week, watching him come off the field, it's hard not to look at it through a different lens of he's just an awesome player that you want to see out there. So It's really unfortunate to see that happen to the SWAT team. you wish him a speedy recovery. You want to see the best for him, but of course you always hope it's against other teams and not your own. And so he's an awesome athlete. I hope he comes back soon. But unfortunately, without him, I think it kind of, kneecaps the SWAT team a little bit in that they're losing, that not even so much the boom performances, but, that guaranteed really solid put out from him on the defense. And you always want those players on your team, the guys who, no matter what, are going to be dropping 8 to 12 points and always have that potential to just go off. And without him, there's some other, it opens kind of a hole in the SWAT team that we haven't seen in the past, in past iterations of this this team. And I think their opponent's going to be able to capitalize on that. Butt-holdy Jumbotron, they've got a lot of great players this year. I think they've got a really great roster and a lot of dudes. True. And their key player, probably the other best player in the league, Aaron Donald, is still around and playing against a very bad Atlanta Falcons team that he can capitalize on, which I think just puts the SWAT team in an unlucky matchup this week. But I'm gonna have to give it to bum holy Django team. The other team.
Yeah, I think that's pretty solid analysis there. This is one to definitely look out for this week. Not only is it a rematch of the championship game the past 2 years, this is going to be a real test for both of these teams going forward. Bart Harley, Jarvis Landry got a very nice win last week with huge performances from Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, and Saquon. Question, though, is will that level of production be sustainable, or are they going to fall back down to earth when these guys are not putting up, well over 20 points every week? For the SWAT team, things are looking pretty rough. Aaron Rodgers did absolutely nothing last week. None of their offensive starters scored more than 15 points. And most importantly of all, TJ Watt is out there with a pec injury. It really seems as though the commissioner's promise to curse TJ Watt paid off instantly. And I personally think he owes an apology to all Steelers fans out there. This is something that could really hurt this team, but right now it looks as though TJ Watt is going to be back this season. Looks like he's going to avoid the season-ending injury. I think this is something that could really blow the league wide open in the short term, and we'll have to see what happens when TJ comes back, because I'm sure he'll be back with a vengeance. At the end of the day, I've got to pick a team. That's what experts are paid to do. Maybe a little controversial, but I think the SWAT team, they're going to rally around the injury. They're going to go back. A little regression to the mean for Nooch's team. The SWAT team picks up the win this week. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great to have you on. Wishing you all the best of luck with your picks. Of course, not as good as me, can't beat the expert, but again, thank you for being on the show.
Always a pleasure, Danny Football. Happy to be back anytime, and hopefully I'll see you in the playoffs.
I don't have a team, by the way.
Oh, I meant when we pick in the playoffs.
That works.
Because I'll win today. Yeah.
And thank you, Danny Football and guest Tom, for those great picks. That's all we have for you this time. Be sure to come back next week to see how things shook out. I'm Danny Football, and this has been TNN.